Hey there, folks. I'm Matt Hansen,
And I'm John Johnson.
and you're listening to Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, the podcast where we discuss favorites we've reread, comics we want to read, and everything in between.
And here's the comic we picked this week.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of
Planes, Trains, and Comic Books.
Today we are beginning our celebration of Black History Month, as we did last year. I don't know. We thought it was pretty successful last year, if only just for, like, we had fun reading everything. You know?
Yeah. And definitely we got some, like, really cool perspectives on some stories that, I mean, again, we talked about, like, we didn't learn any of that in school.
So, yeah, like Nat Turner and all that
Nat
stuff.
Turner and whatnot. Yeah, it was like, why, like you could, so you don't have to be as graphic, but still, like that should be something people should learn about.
Yeah. Definitely. And, like, there's there's a lot of other history too that we just don't learn about. So,
or we talked about the in Oklahoma, because it was coming up.
Right. Because it was on the Watchmen.
Yeah, and it happened to be in the Watchmen. Like, why did we not know about that? That's horrible that's not like a extremely learned history for everyone. So.
Right. Yeah. So, because we liked last year and it was kind of books we had never, or we wouldn't necessarily just pick out of everything because we weren't searching for them, you know. We decided to do it again this year. We picked a couple other books that I haven't really heard of before and wouldn't necessarily pick out of the hat. The first one we're going to do is one we probably would have got to eventually, but the other ones I would not. I didn't even know some of the characters and whatnot. So it's going to be interesting. Also, I believe me and you single-handedly got Milestone Comics back in print.
That's right.
Because last year we had to read them illegally or whatever on the internet to review some, like, Static Shock and some other characters. And then we were talking about how Milestone needs to come back, and I can't believe DC, blah, blah, blah. And I guess they heard us, and they were like, you know what, you're right, Matt and John. So they brought it back. They actually are reprinting all of Milestone stuff. Like, I think the first two trades of Icon are out. I think the first trade of Static Shock is out. I know they're releasing the issues, too, like single issues. So you can, like, buy them again or whatever.
So you're welcome, world.
Yeah, you know, that's what we do for you guys. So
that's the whole reason we started this, is we're going to bring back characters that, that did not get
long lost. Yeah. So yeah, we're
kidding. It's all Joey McDuffie. Yeah.
I think so,
and all his other creative.
I think we're gonna read some Icon this time. We're gonna read some Deathlock, which is a character I never heard of.
I'd seen him, but I had no idea.
I've seen a picture. I saw the cover of this book that we were going to read, and it was and I was like, I don't know who that is, and I've never seen him any other time. So I don't know if this is like a big character, but Deathlock, who's created by Joey McDuffie, and then we're going to do the history of hip hop, Volume 1, which is by Ed Piskor, who's a white guy, but apparently he got the street cred, so, like, he did a really good job.
Like, this is, like, very well received comic.
Yeah,
so.
And we wanted to do, like, an actual history, kind of like we did Nat Turner last time. This is like a historical kind of book about how like the progression of hip hop and the creation of that new style of music, which is always fun. And I'm a music buff, so it's fun to learn about new. Or like the creation of these kind of new genres and whatnot. So, and then today we're starting it off with the king. T'Challa. We're doing Black Panther, and not just any Black Panther, because you could pick a bunch, anything from like the last 10 years or whatever, But this seemed to be really what the movie was kind of based on a little bit. Definitely a lot of the same characters and stuff. I really kind of want to read more of this after we read this first little volume. We might have to do that because I want to see how close some of the movie storylines are to this. But This was Black Panther. It's from Marvel Knights, which was, if you don't know, John, in the 90s, Marvel went bankrupt, right? Stan Lee's selling off all the movie rights, trying to keep this fucker afloat. Just like, please give us money. You can have Fantastic Four. You can have. That's how Sony got this, and Universal got that, and everybody. Everybody. So he fucked everything up for the Marvel universe. Later, he didn't know that, but Stan Lee while he was in every movie, messed up the Marvel universe because he didn't keep the rights to all of them under one tent or whatever. But Marvel had to buy all that shit back. Eventually, it all.
That's okay. I think. Long story short, we can say it was all for the better good because it's just.
Well, if Marvel went bankrupt, we wouldn't have any of it, right?
Yeah.
So I guess he did do the right thing, but So Marvel's going bankrupt, and when they were they're going bankrupt, and comics are kind of like flailing, right? So this guy named Joe Quesada and this other dude named Jimmy Palmiotti were like, "Hey, Stan Lee, I got an offer for you. What if we take 6 of your books that are like the worst selling books or whatever, and we like do our own thing with them, and then like you don't even like worry about it. Like we promise we're gonna do our own thing, and we believe this will bring it out." And he's like, "Well, fuck it, like might as well. What else we're gonna do?" And that was called Marvel Knights. So it was like with a K, like Knights. And so I think there were 6. It might have been more, but originally I think there were 6. And this was one of the like relaunches, and it was Black Panther by Christopher Priest, who is in fact a priest or father of some kind, as far as religious person. What is he? Is he a pastor? I don't know. He's a pastor of some kind. But he is one of the actual guys that he was actually part of the Milestone crew originally, and then like him and McDuffie had like a falling out or something. So he like, I don't know how much of a falling out, but he was just like, I'm not gonna write anything anymore for that. But he started writing for Marvel right after that. So that's where we get this. This is him like revamping the character, making it cool again. This is the same time that we got like Kevin Smith wrote Daredevil, and then so that was like a new thing to have someone who's not a real comic creator come in, but he loves comics, so he's writing. And then you have like what was that? I think there was like a weird Punisher where like he was the Angel of Death or some shit. That one didn't sell well. That one wasn't a big hit. But some of these other ones were like so big they brought Marvel out of the spiral. Okay. And so then we were able to have like Bendis write Daredevil after Kevin Smith, and it fucking did gangbusters and stuff. So then you get the nice 2000s of Marvel, like the big, upswing. So the big comic book triumph or whatever, the decade. So so like this was one of those books, and they just started releasing like these complete collections, like these giant versions of them. So pick them up. We got the digital one on Comixology, but this was like a really solid book.
Oh yeah.
The first, especially the first volume we read, I had a lot of fun. The only thing that was kind of weird, the storytelling was very 90s, as far as
hopping all over the place.
Yeah, and just like hopping, like he even references. He's like, "You Tarantino motherfucker!" Like, what's going on? Like, because he is obviously inspired by how the story was in like Pulp Fiction, and it's not linear. So he's like, "I'm gonna start that like that." So we basically started like towards the end of the story with this, and the first issue. I should say it's by, like we said, Christopher Priest is the writer, but I think his name is Mark Teixeira.
Mark Teixeira.
The Mark Teixeira is the artist, and you had a problem with the art at the beginning. I like Mark Teixeira. I'm a big fan of his art. I think Joe Quesada took over at the end, and you like his.
So I'll tell you, I think it's just familiarity for me. Yeah. Like the covers are freaking gorgeous for all these.
But it's comics. The same that he did the covers.
But then when the art starts in the beginning, right. It's very like it looks like you said. It kind of looks like painted. It's cool. It's very unique. But I think just like as it goes and gets into more of that normal format, I think I'm one of those safe comic readers. Like, this is comforting. This is normal.
Oh yeah.
Well, because like remember we felt kind of the same way about. The vampire one, 30 Days a Night, because like right. That's a very distinct.
This isn't as distinct.
It's not as distinct, but like I was still like, it took me a while to get into that, and then this changes halfway through, so I was like,
right,
okay.
It changes to Quesada, I believe. So I'm like, that's a very he's like Quesada is very 90s. He did the art, or he did the covers for Wolverine.
Don't tell me he drew that really bad Captain America.
No, that was Rob Liefeld.
Yeah.
Joe Quesada. No, Joe Quesada is like pretty solid. Some of his Batman work was a little iffy to me, but he had like weird like points and shit on his cape and whatnot. But that being said, he did what's the one we did the Origin. He did the covers for the Origin. Right. Those ones that are like orange. Like where he's sitting there with the wheat coming out of his mouth or whatever. Right. So yeah, that's Joe Quesada. So he's a top notch artist from the '90s, but like now he like owns Marvel or whatever. He's the chief person or whatever. So so yeah, the this comic starts off with a dude who John informed me was actually the guy from what was from Black Panther the movie.
Yeah, he's Everett Ross.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm not sure. I remember what agency he works for, and maybe the FBI or something in the movie. But
yeah, but he was. It's the guy that Bilbo Baggins plays.
Yeah.
In the movie, and I didn't get that. I didn't put two and two together because I guess I'm not as big of a fan, or like I didn't watch that movie enough to know his name, and so so it was interesting. But it starts with him, and he's like pantsless, and he's like there's some other person talking about Wakanda in the living room, and he's in the bathroom on top of the toilet, and he's like just in his underwear, and he's like got his gun out, and he's pointing it at a rat, and he's like, this is the story this far. Buster, a rat so big, you could put a saddle on him, continued to elude me. The client, he kept calling. This is one of the things that was confusing to me. Christopher Priest sometimes, in his like cleverness, will be confusing sometimes. So he kept saying the client, and he's talking about T'Challa, like fucking Black Panther, but he kept saying the client.
Yeah, he called him the client for quite a bit of this.
Yeah, and I was like, wait, like who's the client? And then realized, oh, he's talking about Black Panther about 2 issues in. I thought there was like a third person that we hadn't seen the whole time.
Yeah.
That was named the client, and then I'm like, where's that? When's that guy gonna show up or whatever? So yeah, but it was only until we started getting more into the story where he actually like goes back. But yeah, he's like, sitting here, he's pointing a gun at a rat trying to kill it while some guy talks about the history of Wakanda, and basically he's waiting for Black Panther to get back, and he's like, I don't know what's going on. The bathroom had no floor and I still had no pants. Well, and then we're like, wait, what happened? And it just started like in the middle of this fucking scene. You're just like, what?
And him not having pants ended up being much more of a story than I thought.
Yeah, it kind of came. Yeah, just like, oh, okay, I guess.
As the more and more we got into this, and like you said, you didn't quite tell, but like I see why Martin Freeman played this character, because it's very very like a kind of like serious bumbling a little bit, but then also like he can like take action when need be. So it was cool.
Yeah, so like we said, this is very non-linear storytelling, so we might like move the story around as we see fit while we're talking about it, or jump around to parts. But basically, this dude is recounting after the fact to a girl, I guess his boss or a coworker.
I think someone that works at the same age.
Who I guess he's romantically involved with too, because he also like gets naked at one point and he's like, hey, let's go do the let's go fuck.
Let's go this, yeah.
Yeah. And she's like, not right now or whatever. You tell me, finish the story or whatever. So like, apparently they're romantically involved. And she's like, wait, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you just started in the middle. Why were you in your underwear? And like, what are you talking about this rat for? And what's happening? So basically, T'Challa is in, where are they at?
He's in New York.
New York, okay. I was going to say like the Bronx or something, but I can't remember where they are in New York. But I think it's Brooklyn or something. I don't know. And T'Challa, I like the way he shows T'Challa on this. When he comes up, he's like in a suit. And he's like, he doesn't look like the guy that is in the movie. That guy looks too nice. This dude looks like
Chadwick Boseman, R.I.P.
Yeah, R.I.P. Chadwick Boseman. You're a fantastic actor. You did a great job as Black Panther. But this guy looks fucking hard as fuck. Like he looks like I was gonna say he looks like Shaq from his movies when he was working, like because he's so big, and he's got like he has like a little mustache goatee thing going on and everything. But
he kind of threw off a Shaft vibe to me.
Yeah, Shaft, or you can even say like Wesley Snipes.
Oh yeah,
like very like more Blade coolness than like nice leader or whatever. Because in this, he is the nice leader. He's supposed to be like not opposite of his dad, but a better version of his dad.
Very much so, yeah.
And so where his dad would like have Secret Service people kill people to save the kingdom, he's like, we can't do that. We can't have Shadow. And I'm like, wow, like people in Washington should read Black Panther. But like, how could we have Shadow Shadow governments killing people even though it's for the good of the country or whatever, But
I 100% agree with you. The look and feel of T'Challa in this is
he's badass.
Is badass because he just this aura and presence that he presents, just being like cool, calm, and collected in this suit. But then, like when he needs to like have a little, like when he has to be badass, it just like whips out.
Also,
real quick.
like he's in a suit, like a tie suit, you know, like a business suit, and then when he goes into Black Panther, he just turns black for a second. Like his whole like aura becomes black, and then all of a sudden he's in the suit.
That's true.
That's fucking cool.
That was one of my favorite panels. Is that first time that happened? I was like, oh man, that's cool.
Like he doesn't put it on, like it's already on, or it just mystically comes on to him somehow. It's very, very cool. Very cool idea. You could definitely see why this sold, and like why it brought, why people were into it, kind of thing, and why it lasted. I think it lasted for like 40 issues or something. His run went pretty far. So. That's why we picked this too, because I've read some Christopher Priest. I was reading his Vampirella run for a while. That's going on right now. Vampirella's not my favorite character, so I was like having trouble caring as much. But so I kind of dropped it. But like he was kind of trying to bring that back into some prominence. There are people who are liking it a lot too, by the way. So, but this was like I could definitely see like the strength of his writing, and this is what brought like, and also like knowing what people want, and like, all right. If I'm gonna write a black character, he's gonna be fucking awesome. It's gonna be like this, like, like none of this. Like, what can I do? Like, I'm torn between. He's like, no, I'm gonna do this. Like, he makes decisions and like, sticks by them, and like I don't know. He just like does a really good job, like giving this character, like all the like decision making leadership skills you would have. Or you would have to have as a king, but without any of the like
the pomp
meanness.
and circumstance.
Yeah, the pomp and circumstance, or like the meanness, or like the like, oh well, we got to break a couple eggs to. Like, he's like, no, we don't have to break any eggs.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that about it.
Now this T'Challa is fantastic.
Now the other thing about this T'Challa is you might remember some people, the women that are in the movie, the guard.
His like the royal guard.
I think they're called the Dora Majay or Majay or Majah.
The Dora Majay?
Majay, yeah.
I think so.
And so they in the movie, they're like warriors, and in this
they're warriors. They're badass.
They're warriors. They kick some ass, and I think this might be the introduction of them. I'm not sure. But it would make sense if that was, because he introduces them multiple times in each issue. Like, this is who they are. This is why they're here.
Yeah.
Don't mind how they look. They are badasses. But one of the things about them is that they're dressed in, let's say, cocktail dresses, like they're going to go out for the evening with on a date or something. And but they're supposed to be teenagers who are like, warriors. So they're like his guards, but they're teenage girls. And
they could also possibly be future queens.
It says they're like queens in waiting or whatever, or like wives in waiting for the king.
Yeah, not saying that they are all his wives. It's not concubines or anything like. Yeah, but like if there's one that is like truly great, then maybe she will be a queen one day. That's the way they kind of perceived it.
Yeah.
So it's definitely like the way that they
this would be problematic
it here
now.
Is definitely would be like, I'm like, yeah, and I see why like that isn't exactly how you would move that forward.
Yeah. But I mean, this kind of.
But they're still badass.
To me, it's like it is badass. He's trying to like subvert your what you think on the page. Like, so you're seeing two hot women, but then they're kicking ass and they're like, taking names, and they're young women who are like, so like I get why he would do that. But then there's some circumstances where it was like, nah, you can't do that nowadays.
We'll get into this.
And even though he was like, it's not me, like I can't believe that you did that or whatever. But anyway, so Black Panther is like trying to figure out a mystery that happened. He's in America for a reason, right? So we're gonna, like you said, we're gonna jump around because we're gonna have to relinearize this story for the listener.
Yeah.
But basically, while Wakanda has been going through some hardships because refugees are like trying to he's trying to help refugees that are on the borders of Wakanda, and Wakandans are not happy that they're bringing in these refugees who are also fighting.
Yeah. There's some infighting in Wakanda because you have some of the tribes people and then some of these like city dwelling people.
Yeah. Apparently, there's like a left, like a there's just like in America where there's the city folk and then there's the country folk, and then they don't like each other.
Yeah.
And then also you have the refugees come in, and then these refugees don't like those refugees, and then both refugees don't like Wakanda, and then, so there's like a lot of infighting, and it's just not a good time for Wakanda right now. But he's the king, and in the meantime, if you remember from the movie, he started apparently making like, you know, in America, trying to help out folks in America who are underprivileged. So he had like a fund going on. I can't remember what the Kids of Tomorrow or something like that.
Yeah, Tomorrow Fund. And it's basically they've been bankrolling this this charitable organization, which was doing good things for a while, but then some things started to slip off a little bit.
Yeah.
And then there was a big thing that happened here.
Yeah, which was the cover poster for this, you know, Kids of Tomorrow charity. This child who was like, hey, you like Kids of Tomorrow, she winds up murdered.
Yeah.
And possibly worse, they kind of allude to.
But they definitely found her in a back alley.
Yeah.
And
so he's like, this cannot stand. And also then that made like the police go like, wait, this organization that's charitable, that's from the black, you know, from Wakanda, is like this actual like fucked up organization that has all these like money laundering.
Yeah, the head of the charity ends up in jail because they found out she was doing money laundering and stuff. And then apparently this lady never had any record or anything of that, and that's why she was chosen initially. And so like T'Challa's like, you
can't trust old ladies.
What's going on? Like,
if there's anything I know from being loss prevention, who steals the most? Old ladies. Right? Because they can get away with it.
Oh, don't mind me. Don't look in my bag.
Yeah. Let go of my ham. Yeah, but so that's why he's here. He's like, this cannot stand. It looks bad for Wakanda, and also I need to figure out like what's going on with this charity because I want to help out kids, but this girl is dead, and he needs to get like justice for her. So he puts Wakanda on hold, like everything going on in Wakanda. He's like, it'll be like 6 days. His mom, who I guess is his stepmom, is like, hey, like, don't worry, or like, you know, don't worry, everything will be okay. Like, or I think at first she's like, should you leave? And he's like, I think, you know, it'll only be like 5 days max. Like, I'll figure this shit out, you know, don't worry. And she's like, okay, like, I'm here, I'll help, you know, everything. Just let me know. And she'll keep in touch with him and let him know if anything's going on where he needs to come back right away. And so they do make a point of him calling him her mother and being very respectful to her. And even though she's like, I'm not your mother, like that was the other lady that your dad married. And then she's apparently from South Africa and was his second wife, I guess. So, yeah. And so that's why Black Panther is here, and he is like going through the underworld trying to figure out, you know, who was the reason, like who's been laundering their money at this place and how to get to the person that at the bottom of it, kind of thing.
Yes.
Like find out this mystery and find out who killed this girl. So he's going around doing that and talking to like all these, I guess, Hispanic gang people. Yeah. And I thought this was cool. He's like, he sees a guy and he's like, hey, you know, tell me about this. And they're like, who the fuck are you? You know, like you can't do shit to us. What are these bimbos gonna do something? You know, because the girls are standing on either side of him, and he's like, I like his thing where he's like, it just says like, it seems like everybody knows him, so they're always like, hey, kitty cat. They just think he's like a dude in a suit with no powers or anything. I don't know why they don't think he has powers because the suit definitely gives him, and he has like the herb that he took.
Yeah, they definitely know he's an Avenger, but maybe they don't know that whole backstory.
Yeah, so they're like, hey, kitty cat, what are you going to do? Like, paw us to death or some shit? And then he, like, pulls out, like, a taser, and he's like, hey, you guys are in, like, a metal car. Have fun with this shit. And he, like, he zaps them all, and they, like, all get electrocuted. But, and then he, like, questions them and shit. And then the girls just beat the fuck out of all the other guys. So that was kind of, there's, like, a good, like, this is the third page.
Yeah.
So you're just seeing, like, these girls beat the fuck out of these gangsters who have guns and stuff. And then, like, everybody else... the Black Panther tries to fight, but he's like instantly, like you said, the fourth page is where you see his first transformation.
Oh yeah,
like,
and it's fantastic.
Dude in a suit, dude covered in black. Now he got his Black Panther costume on, and this guy runs up to him and tries to stab him, and it just breaks on his costume. And so, yeah, like while he won't kill people necessarily, he's going out of his way to really fuck people up. Like he even has like this energy dagger. That's a weapon. He doesn't have that in the movie. No. But it's a cool weapon because he's like energy dagger. Like go to your like just non-lethal setting, but the non-lethal setting, it says, is like you feel it, like it kills you. Like it feels like it's stabbing into you, but it doesn't actually stab into you. Like, so you feel like the pain of what it would be to stab
without
but you don't die.
I know, that's crazy.
I was like, that's a fucked up like weapon to have kind of thing. Like that's a cool idea though. And he just looks really, really messed up as far as like he just keeps fucking everybody up and everything. So then the funny thing about this is as they're cutting back and forth between the dude telling the story, who's the agent who's in the bathroom, Everett Ross. He's like his girlfriend's like, God damn it, Everett, stop like starting in the middle or starting in different places. Just start from the beginning and tell me what's going on. And I'm not gonna lie, this was a little annoying to me because I just want the story, I just want to know the story. So like it took him like almost I think the second issue is where he actually gets to like the beginning of stuff that was going on.
Yeah.
But like it took a while to figure out exactly what's going on. And I was trying to think, would this story work linearly? Like if you had just told from the beginning? Probably, but it wouldn't have been as intriguing like in some parts or whatever. But it definitely would have been less confusing in some parts too. Because I was like, wait, what's going on now? Like, hold on a second. How did that happen? So, but yeah, we see like he cuts back to telling the story. She's like, go back further, like, start at the beginning. He's like, okay, I go to pick the guy up and I'm in my Maserati. And so like it shows him going to pick Black Panther up to get his Maserati. Turns out she had the job originally, like to go pick him up at the airport. And then Everett was like, no, I'll get or she like passed it off to him. And he's like, okay, I'll get him. And he like brought a Maserati just to pick up T'Challa because he's like, he's an Avenger.
Yeah.
Like he just comes by himself, right? Maybe costume. That's about it. One set of clothes or whatever.
But he comes with two of his guards, and it's Okoye and Nakia.
Yeah.
So it's two of the people that you've heard.
The movie, yeah.
And then Zuri, which is like his father's original right hand man, like his go-to guy.
Yeah.
That would be Forrest Whitaker in the movie.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I
was like, I know this guy's in the movie, but I couldn't remember who it was.
That's because in this, he is
looks different.
He is like he's
gigantic.
Hercules in his like size and strength look.
Yeah.
Like he's a very like buff dude.
Yeah. And so he's going to pick him up and he just thinks it's going to be one guy, but like we said, it's those four people. And then a whole other entourage. He's like, oh shit. Like, and so he's got to figure out a place for them. And then they all want to stay in the inner city. They want to stay in like a tenement house or whatever, or like what are the projects.
Yeah.
So instead of staying at like a nice, hotel or whatever, like you would think a dignitary from another country would do, he's like, no, I want to stay at these projects. And so that's where we learn. He like breaks down some of the stuff that was going on in Wakanda, what's going on, why he left Wakanda, because we see like, oh, there's a newspaper with the clipping of the girl, and like we find out what happened with that. And then the first issue ends like with like a what the fuck with Everett, he's in the apartment, he's in his underwear. There's what's this guy's name?
Zuri.
Zuri is talking about the history of Wakanda. I think he's like drunk or
he's kind of going in and out of
sleepy.
I guess sleepy or something.
And then like there's a knock on the door and he answers it and it's Mephisto. But I didn't say Mephisto ever. It just until way later. So he just says he calls him Satan. So I was like, I think it's Mephisto because the look on his look is like Mephisto, but his face looks different than Mephisto normally does.
Yeah, that was the only thing. Like I was like, because I was like, okay, he looks and seems like Mephisto, but his head is kind of more lion-esque.
Yeah, it looks more demonish.
Yeah.
So. And I thought this was funny. He answers the door, sees Mephisto, closes the door, and goes like, "Hey, I think it's for you." But yeah. So then like Mephisto ends up just sitting on a couch with him, like waiting for Black Panther to return.
He like has like a throne.
Oh yeah, he makes his own. Yeah, he makes his own throne.
I'll get my own chair.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I got it. So yeah, like then like they're just waiting for.
This little back and forth was actually quite funny.
Yeah, like Mephisto's sitting there and he's like, so, how's hell going or whatever, like he's trying to like, how's the weather down there or whatever. And he's like, what happened to your pants or whatever. He's like, oh, someone stole my pants. And then like, he's like, here you go. I'll make you some new pants. And he's like, cool pants. And he's like, wait, can I just sell my soul for pants? And he keeps trying to take them off, and then they're still on.
Yeah.
Every time he pulls the pants down, there's another pants underneath it. So like Mephisto did like some weird spell or whatever.
Yeah, he like messes with his mind. He's like, oh, I bet you hate when you miss pants. Like, and then he puts them in his head in all these situations, like not having pants, and like that dream everybody has. Like, I'm at school and I don't have pants on.
Yeah,
so
and that's
a
the other
fun
thing.
little.
Once Mephisto comes in, there's some confusing things that like it'll just start a dream sequence without like any like background or cut to Mephisto or anything. A dream sequence will just start where all of a sudden something that's very uncharacteristic is going on, or Everett is like is Everett, right?
Yeah.
Everett is like a little kid in a school or whatever, and he's like getting called fat by his grandma and stuff or whatever, and it's like, what's going on? And then like, oh, that was like Mephisto, like putting him in a vision or whatever, and then like so it's like a weird. Sometimes those started, and I was like, wait, what's going on? But basically the story is just Black Panther going from like person to person to person, tracking down all these like drug dealers and everything, going through trying to like find out who the main bad guy was that killed this girl, and also what's been going on with this charity. One of the people that comes up, there's a cop who I was like, is this really a cop? There's a cop.
It made me think of Mel Gibson in like the
Lethal Weapon. But his name is Sergeant Torque. And he just carries a shotgun everywhere. And he always has his finger on the trigger, which is very unsafe. And also, it's a double barrel shotgun, so it's not even like a regulation police shotgun. And also, he never takes his hand off of it. Like, there's a scene where he's in like he goes to their, where they're staying at the projects, and he like goes to turn the TV on, and he pushes the button with the shotgun. Like shit like that was really funny. But this guy shows up to save Everett. This is when he loses like his badge and all this shit because T'Challa leaves them, and then they get like he picks them up from the airport, and the first thing they was like, let's get some Chinese food. Yeah, we're all hungry.
And so Zuri goes in to order Chinese food. Everett helps with that. When he steps back outside, he kind of gets mugged by the Hispanic gang from the very, very beginning, and they steal his ID or his badge.
Yeah, and then they get arrested for beating. Or no, okay. Then they go to find them at a bar, and the bar's having like a mud wrestling night.
Yeah,
and then like it ends up like Everett gets thrown into the pit, and the girls start beating him up that are like in bikinis mud wrestling, which would be very problematic nowadays. And then also Zuli gets put there too.
Yeah, Zuri comes in.
Or Zuri, yeah, sorry.
Zuri's like, it's okay, Everett, I'll take care of them.
Yeah, and so like there's a great picture of like 10 bikini clad women in the mud trying to hold Zuri down while he like tries to get Everett out of there, and then they're beating the fuck out of Everett. And then they all get arrested, which is funny because there's like a lineup, and you just see like the two girls are in one picture together. Then you see Zuri. Then you see Black the Panther. He doesn't take his mask off or anything. And then you see Everett. So like, and he's like, I told you guys I'm with the government. Like, why'd you arrest us? Or whatever. He's like, you don't have any ID or anything. So basically, he gets him out eventually with his like ID and all that stuff, but or like he gets identified, but yeah. And so then we cut into I guess in the future where Black Panther's been tracking down stuff because like Everett's telling that side of the story to his girlfriend, and then we cut to like I guess now where like Black Panther he's tracked everybody down to the old lady who's run the charity, and
she's in prison.
Yeah, and she's like, what the fuck? Like, how come you did this or whatever? And she has like, he's like, you're supposed to be like the one who's okay, like, cause you're an nice old lady or whatever. And he's like, how could you run like a laundering like operation for drug cartels and who cast a spell on you basically? And she's like, you can go to hell, mister. And she's very obviously like possessed or something. Like something's happened. We don't fully know. And then I was like. That's one of the
I think either Okoye or Nakia is I guess they suck into the prison.
Comes in and just punches and then like puts a baton to her neck.
Yeah, starts beating.
But she's
this
a very
old woman.
voluptuous guard. Say that.
Oh yeah, no, because he looked like it looks like Black Panther's going to do something, and then he's like, basically, hey, come in, and then she comes and roughs her up.
Yeah. And so
he's not going to lay a hand on her.
Yeah, he won't lay a hand on her. He can't hit a woman, or an old lady especially. But she will. She beat the fuck out of him. And so then then it says like, oh, like let's introduce a new character. And so like now we cut back to Everett, and he's telling his girlfriend this part of the story, which we didn't know yet, which was there's this dude named what's it, Akumbi or Achumbi? Achembe? I don't know.
Oh, Achembe, yeah.
Yeah, Achembe, is that what it is?
Yeah, that's the
He kept calling him like Everett kept calling him Achumbi. So I was like, wait, is it supposed to be pronounced you or whatever? But I guess it's Achumbe.
Achebe.
Achebe. Ochebe. Okay, there you go.
It's Achebe.
Okay.
Achebe.
And so I apologize for my pronunciation shittiness. So but yeah, so Achebe is like a dude who apparently was like he was from another part of Africa he got out of his town barely. He got like shot a bunch of times and all this shit while he was escaping from like a warlord that was killing everybody. And then like he made a deal with Mephisto for his life, and in that basically he's gonna like take over Wakanda, and he was found in the third issue that he is one of the refugees. Mm-hmm. So he's actually like making all this shit, like the strife between the different refugees and Wakanda and all that stuff. He has like been he's purposefully corrupting all this like humanitarian effort by Black Panther, and it turns out also that he's like manifested this whole thing where like that's why like when he made the deal with Mephisto, that's why Black Panther had to leave and all this stuff. So there's a lot of like reveals in this. I was like, oh shit, but like he had to like bring this guy in like way, like like if you told this story from the beginning, like right now,
you'd be like, who?
Like in the first issue, like you could do that though. You could have like this dude's war-torn country or whatever. So I was trying to figure out like while reading this, like, did he need to go through like this whole back and forth, non-linear plot or whatever? But it made sense somewhat. So just for like creating tension as far as like what's going to happen kind of thing. So, but yeah, so we see like this guy, Achumbe, he is
Achebe.
like,
you're good. It's Achebe. It's
Achebe. There we go. Got it. But he has like definitely made a deal with the devil, and he's trying to take over Wakanda, like through other stuff. And then, so we also find out that that the guy who actually killed the girl, like now Black Panther's onto him. And we see that Black Panther's actually found a bunch of pictures of a bunch of girls who apparently gotten worse things done to them through this charity. So his charity not only like laundered money for like drug dealers and gun sellers and all this stuff, but like also this rich child molester would like fuck these kids, I guess.
Like, something like that. They don't say that specifically, but
they do say he does worse. He said his name was Delroy Richmond, and he was about as sick as sickos come.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying.
They allude to it pretty.
They allude to it. They can't say it's a Marvel comic, even though it's Marvel's Knights. You can't do it that hard. But yeah. So like basically, he's confronted by Black Panther. We find out, he like did horrible things.
He sets his bed on fire to wake him up. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, he's like, fuck this guy. This guy's on fire while he's like chasing him through the halls. And then the girls beat the fuck out of him. And so basically he made a sack. He also, this is where we find out that it said like Achebe had indeed forged a pact with Satan, and all the powers of darkness were focused on destroying everything the client cherished. So like part of that is this,
this humanitarian
outrageous, all this humanitarian work. And so I like this. He throws the dude out of a window, falls down with him, and then like is able to beat him down, like beat the guy down to the ground, and then catches him right as he's like gonna die. Yeah. So the guy doesn't die, but he like basically had the shittiest almost death or whatever, like, holy shit, I actually did fall. And then so like then he heads back to his apartment now that he's got the guy. And so we also find out through this, like, they give some history about T'Challa and his dad T'Chaka, and like that his dad had like secret police, and also that the guy from the movie who's that guy's
name?
Ulysses Claw is in this, and like we find out about like the deal his dad made with this dude, and why I was like, why would his dad make a deal with this guy? But like, I don't know why necessarily. I guess he thought he was doing good for the country or whatever, but he was like,
I think so. Well, that's because I think that his dad was being naive about it, and then T'Challa was like, this guy's smile is evil. He's got evil intentions, Dad. I don't like this guy.
Yeah. So even when T'Challa was a boy, he like did not like this Claw dude, and we actually see how like Claw gets his hand fucked up into this and stuff. So that was
it was cool.
But yeah, like this is one of the things where like, oh, all of a sudden there's like a weird like vision that happens in the middle of this history of like with his dad and stuff, and so then like we see all of a sudden we cut to like some weird shit going on with like the Fantastic Four, and like you see like scenes of his dad dying and him going to college and like being with I guess his first girlfriend and all that stuff. So like there's some like weird stuff that happens, and then all of a sudden he's like making out with someone. I was like, is this supposed to be him or is this?
Yeah, it's him. Someone named Monica, but I don't know the.
Okay, so there was like a couple different. This was a weird drawing. This looks like her body. There's a panel, and I only point this out because cartoonist kayfabe always points this shit out, and I love this. But like when you have two bodies on a panel, sometimes your eye gets confused about whose body is which if you don't like fully distinguish stuff. Like if there's a blanket over someone or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's his girlfriend is behind him laying down, and he's sitting up in front of her, but it looks like she's got like a nightgown on, and then all of a sudden it ends, and then she's got a six pack and boxer and like Superman legs. And I'm like, wait a second, what's going on here? I got confused the first time I looked at it. But he's like having memories basically of what's going on, like vision, some crazy vision. He's like, what the fuck? Yeah. And so like he's reliving some stuff, and he starts making out with Monica on his bed, and she's like they start making out, and she's like, you have to call me master. And he's like, what? And he like pulls away, and as he pulls away, he like looks, and it's him now, like modern day, but he's making out with.
He's in the limo.
Yeah, he's in a limo with one of the
Nikia or Okoye.
It's Nakia.
It's Nakia. Okay,
yeah.
Yes. Okay.
And so like he's making out with one of his girl guards, who's an underage teen girl. They specifically say that like in this too. So like it was like, whoa, that wouldn't happen nowadays in the comic.
Obviously something is happening to him. It's not him.
Yeah, it's not him, but he's
it was still like, whoa,
freak the fuck out. Also, apparently if you kiss one of these wives in training, it says the Dora
Milaje.
Were sort of wives in training, and she's like, have I displeased you, King? Because she like is also taken aback by his surprise, because she thought like he was into her or some shit, and he was just like in some weird spell. And it turns out Mephisto is like doing this spell on him, and also this dude shows up who's like the white wolf or whatever. Is that what he's like?
Yeah, the white wolf is I guess the head of one of his dad's secret police assassins.
Yeah. And so like they were supposed to be disbanded, but they were not apparently. They're really secret now.
Yeah.
And so
I guess they've been watching him in New York while he was running around doing stuff.
Yeah, and we find out like while Black Panther, because he was surprised about obviously having this weird vision. And he's like, wait, someone's fucking with me. I got to go back to my place, because obviously you think it's Mephisto or whoever is doing something to him. And so he's going back to his house. He's getting followed by these assassins. And then also on the TV we see basically
Achebe.
I'm gonna get it. Right? Achebe has like made himself and also like he's now like a really well respected leader of like uniting forces in Wakanda. So he's been working while like the 3 days, I guess, while T'Challa's been gone.
We shouldn't be fighting. We should refugees and all the citizens of Wakanda. We should all work together.
He's on TV and he brings up a dog. He's like, "Look at the dog I found. Isn't that cute?" Like he's trying everything. He's like pulling out all the stops to get
all the
popularity votes. Yep. Yeah, so he's trying to become like a politician basically. And we should say he actually does take over like the throne in kind of like not like a real way. Like he's not king, but he's like, well, let's say he's prime minister or whatever. Like he's not elected
or steward.
Yeah. He's kind of like where Wormtongue is talking to like the king and Rohan or whatever, and then like I can't remember his name right now, but in Rohan there's the king and that guy's talking to him, and whatever that guy says the king does. So it's kind of like that, where like somehow he's kind of taken power just by populism. Yeah, which still relevant.
That happens.
Sometimes that can happen, apparently, and even in
in modern times.
Even in modern times. So even in non-kingdoms, non-monarchies. So I would say that probably doesn't happen as much in monarchies because you can rule with an iron fist if you want, right? But yeah. So like Black Panther's getting tracked down by these assassins as he's trying to get home, and he sees like he's fighting them, and then he sees like the guy said, "Oh, I'm the White Wolf of Wakanda. Like I came here, and you need me to take down this fucker." And so, like, basically, they weren't trying to kill him. They were just trying to be like, "Hey,
we know
what your attention."
Like there's been shit going on behind your back and Wakanda.
Yeah, and like, you need us. Like, let us go kill this guy because he's like trying to take your kingdom. And I thought this was cool. Like, this is what I was saying. Like he has like such morals or whatever. He's like, "Hey, no,
like I will take it.
I will. Let me just finish my shit. I'm almost done. All right, like, and then we will go do the thing over there with a chebe. I got it. All right. Yeah. So,
but yeah, like you're saying, like that moment specifically, and they're fighting, and it's like, whoa, okay, we're just here to tell you, and he's like, you need us. We helped your father during hard times. We're going to help you take back Wakanda. And he's like, no.
Yeah.
None of this secretive stuff.
Yeah.
I will take care of it in like another day or two.
Yeah. And then so like it was funny because they after he like threw that dude, the child molester guy off the roof, they just threw him in a trunk. So you're like, oh, he's still in his car this whole time. And then they actually just took him to the cop's house. And this is where you see him like turn the TV on with
the shotgun.
With the shotgun or whatever. There's like a panel I saw where I was like, what the fuck? He like pushes the TV with a panel. But then we cut back to the apartment, and Everett Everett is still sitting there pulling off multiple layers of pants.
Yeah, there's literally like 100 pairs of jeans on his.
Yeah, and he just can't get he's like, fine, I guess I'll take these stupid fucking pants. And then like then Mephisto makes him have a bunch of like dreams or whatever as well, or simulations where like I said, like his grandma's like, you're a piece of shit, and like you fat fucker or whatever, and like go do the dishes and go pick up the dog poop and all this stuff. And then right while that's going on, Black Panther finally shows up and like punches Mephisto, and we see like he says
and knocks him out.
Yeah, one punch
with
knocks
one
out
punch. It was
so that's like. We see like, oh, like Mephisto, and apparently they even say this, is like depowered because he's been away from his realm for so long while he's been waiting.
Yeah.
And then like he's not fully depowered, but then it allows Black Panther to reach inside his chest and rip out his heart, which I thought was funny. He puts it in a pickle jar, and then like Zuri's
like, hungry later.
He's hungry later, and he wakes up. He's like, "Oh, Chinese," and he like starts eating the heart. I was like, "Oh my god!" Like he's eating a demon's heart. So I thought that was funny. But yeah, then like Mephisto like takes them to hell, which I thought was interesting. Like I didn't see that coming, but like just magically they just appear in hell.
He's got to get a little bit of a power advantage over them.
Yeah, true. Like he's too underpowered, so. He pulls them down to hell to like fuck with Black Panther a little more, and basically he's
this
like,
"This is cool. I really like this part."
Yeah, we see like this is where we kind of find out exactly what's been going on, like where he made a deal with the devil, and this is where you find out where the rat came from, because the rat was from hell.
Yeah,
it's one of the the rats from hell. And what's their name? Buster or whatever. Like,
Buster.
It's like they're all named Buster, and like and like Everett's just standing there, and like at the gates of hell, like outside the gates of hell, and Black Panther's like, you just wait here, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. I gotta go like kill Mephisto inside the gates or whatever. And so he goes to kill Mephisto or like take on Mephisto. And there's that. I'll show John the panel of the shotgun pushing the button.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like so they like Everett's waiting out there. He's got the rats to deal with. He's also going through his own hallucinations and stuff while he's out there. And like Black Panther's going to fight Mephisto. And basically they end up making a deal. And the deal is, what was the deal? It was like, if you give me Wakanda back and everything, you can have my soul. And then, but what Mephisto doesn't know is that his soul is part of the Panther God's
it is
like,
bound
lineage.
So it is bound to every soul that has ever been the king of Wakanda.
Yeah, and every Black Panther ever.
Yes.
So like kings for hundreds of generations. So like Mephisto, unknowingly, he's like, fine, yes, let's take your soul or whatever. And then he goes and like all of a sudden, I like this. You see Mephisto and they're in hell. So they're in like Mephisto's realm.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he's like, wait, where the fuck am I? And then like all of a sudden they're in
like
the Panther realm. Yeah, like the Panther God's realm.
Yeah, and that was something they did good in the movie.
Yes, it looks very similar. But yeah, like it was very much like it was very cool that Mephisto didn't even know what the fuck happened.
Yeah.
Like, wait, what is going on? And he's like, oh, like you're with my Panther gods. And he's like, I don't know of any Panther god. I would know of that of a Panther god if I. He's like, you just ignored it. You know, like you're not paying attention to these gods or whatever. And so basically, there's so many Panther gods that Mephisto can't take them all without without exploding or whatever.
It was pretty awesome because like it reminded me of the scene in Blade where all the vampire bodies start going through Deacon Frost.
Yeah,
it's like Mephisto's standing there and there's like a panther jumps in and another panther, and he's like, oh my god, stop, please stop.
Yeah, and he's like all right, 5 is enough. And they're like, no, there's like 100 more.
Yeah,
and he's like, I can't take that. And he's like, too bad. And so they're about to like kill him, and he's like, wait. What do you need for like this to not happen? And he's like, well, you know what I want. So like basically reverse. Give me what I wanted originally, but reverse your part. You can't have my soul. So like they do that, and so that's how he gets out of it. He like tricks Mephisto by like making him
overwhelming him. I loved it. It was a fun twist. I did not see that coming.
Yeah, and then the biggest twist of this was so now he's like, okay, the Mephisto deal's done. Yep. He knows that.
So Achebe doesn't have the like influential power into there now.
Yeah.
So he's not going to be able. He won't be able to hold. Popular. Yeah, he won't be able to hold on to his power there. But Black Panther's basically going to have to go and like assert his dominance there again, as far as like being the good ruling king and how this guy was bad this whole time.
Yeah. And so he's like about to go there, and he gets a call from his mom. She's like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" He's like, "Hey, mom, like I'm about to head back. Don't worry. Like I know what's going on, but like we'll be there." And she's like, "Oh, it's fine. Take your time. No worries. Like I'll let you know if it gets really bad or whatever." And then he's like, "Thanks, mom. You're the best." And then he hangs up, and then she goes, or like then like you see a hand reach out, and the guy says problems, and you see it's Achebe. God damn it! I know Achebe, and she's like no, everything's going exactly to plan, and like this will be easy. Like we just need a couple more, minutes or a couple more days to pull this off or whatever. So like basically his fucking stepmom is playing him with Achebe. And like fucking Wakanda over.
Yeah, and it was a cool twist because like they didn't really allude to that.
Not at all. No, the only kind of illusion was it's his stepmom. Yeah, and he treats her great. So like, but she's got sinister.
But she's got an alternative plan.
Yeah, so that's like how this story arc ends, which is very cool. Like a very like good lead into the next part. So.
Which makes me 100% agree. I want to know what happens.
Yeah, exactly. So that being the story, what did you think, John?
I loved it. I don't think I have ever read a just a Black Panther run.
I've not either.
I've read team ups with him. Like I read him with X-Men and like when he marries Storm, and I've read
I read that story that came out when I was like working at the comic book store. So like when him and Storm were married. So
yeah, but like from what I remember, it wasn't the Black Panther run of it. It was like either a team up or the just the X-Men side of it.
6-issue story or something.
Yeah. And then I've read him with the Avengers and stuff. So it was cool to get like just the Black Panther story and to really see him be this morally just
badass.
Exactly, badass. Like it made like I already liked Black Panther a lot. Again, partially Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace, did an amazing job.
Right.
And the movie, and that movie is phenomenal from top to bottom, basically. Anyway, like everything from music to stylistic choices to, and specifically movie wise, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
But like I want to read more Black Panther now because of this.
Yeah, I definitely want to read this run. I mean, this is supposed to be one of the strongest runs of Black Panther ever, and I mean, if not the strongest. And like, I mean, this was a great start. You can see how this sold well. You know, like how this would bring Marvel out along with, you know, Kevin Smith's Daredevil and a couple other.
Like you said, it took like, you know, 2 issues or roughly to like really piece the story. Like, oh, okay, wait a minute, because they were jumping around. But then once that was fine. Like I was like, okay, I know exactly. Like I see how this is being pieced together. So
yeah, and like John said, he didn't like the art from Mark Teixeira, but he did like the art when Joe Quesada started taking over for the like issues
again.
3 and 4.
I think that's just me being in a safe, normal like.
Yeah,
normal comic.
You
book
like
art.
what you like, man. You know,
it's not that I didn't.
I saw it and I was like, "Ooh, that's different," and I'm like, "Oh, that's kind of cool." Like it's like a painted look. It did look, you know, like it could potentially be because maybe we read it digitally and the colors are way more brighter.
Maybe.
Like, you know, because sometimes when you read stuff that was digitally that was originally in print on like newsprint, it looks different than they intended or whatever.
That's
like, color wise. So maybe that's what it was. But I saw it and I was like, oh, it kind of looks like the colors. They look different. All the the drawing looked like Mark Teixeira, but the coloring that really brought it out looked painted. And I didn't know if he painted it and everything too. So
which, like you said, is funny because I love all the covers for these two, and all the covers. I think maybe just because people specifically do that little extra on the cover because it's what makes people buy them.
Yeah.
Right? Makes it pop. Because all the covers of this are fantastic as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, I do not dislike it. I like the oh, I know this art. I'm good with this art.
Right.
Like,
well, it was funny. I was telling John that the going away from the art on this, the story, just having watched Black Panther and not having read much of it, I was like, oh, that's those people. That's these people.
That's true.
That's this guy. Yep. That's that guy. Like I'm like, oh, I know all these people. I just from the movie or whatever. So it was very like familiar. So if you've watched the movie and you enjoyed it, this is like a badder ass version of the movie, I guess. You know, you could say.
Yeah, I guess so.
You know? So which is cool.
It's not the exact same story, but
no, it's
you
not the story. It's not
the
the same story, but the it's just a badder ass version of Black Panther or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, like. And like there's more like we said, jumping around back and forth. It's not a linear story. But so on that note, what would you give this one, John?
It was solid, and the storytelling was fantastic. And yeah, like you said, like Black Panther in particular in this, like he doesn't really have any like downtrodden or like he is fully king and he is fully aware of himself and what needs to get done, whereas the movie, like, you know, he's become king,
right?
He's dealing.
There has to be like
stuff.
a growth of the character.
Yeah. So this coming into this is Black Panther. This is
he's already
T'Challa,
been king for a while.
who is like strong and like knows when he needs to get done, and he is a badass.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it an 8. Like it was a good comic.
Yeah.
And I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna give this one an 8 too. I thought even if you didn't like the art, it was definitely serviceable. Like it told the story fine. Though the style might have thrown you off, it was still like, oh, I knew what was going on every page and everything. So
yeah.
And then when the art switches, you're like, okay, like it looks more standard comic booky, but it's fine too. And so like the art was great. The story, while it moved back and forth. Once you got like, okay, they're gonna do this, and I'm gonna have to be patient. And I don't like that all the time. If every story was like that he tells, I'd be like, all right.
I could tell you this: if we had started reading this and this was like we were reading it issue by issue, I would be like, after the second one, I'd be like, I don't know if I want to keep reading this because like I'm like this is all over the place. But since we were able to sit down with the collection and read it through, that made it a fantastic, well thought out story.
There's that part of it, but also he did leave good cliffhangers on every issue, like when Mephisto enters the door, and you're like, oh, well, what's going to happen next? So like he does give you reasons, which is like this, the sign of a good storyteller. Even though he had a thing he wanted to do, obviously, like this was like he was like, I want to see if I can write this like decentralized storytelling or whatever, and so or unlinear storytelling. So he did a good job of it, but it was I get impatient because sometimes I'm like, look, I just want to know what the fuck's going on. And so, and also, I will say, because we have a podcast, it makes it harder to tell the story. So, like, sometimes I'm appreciative of when people just have a linear story and we can just talk about it and not have to, like,
that's true, too.
When did this happen? And as opposed to when that happened. And, so this wasn't too bad, though, just talking about it. But
and what he's saying is it makes our job easier, guys.
Yeah, can you just make it
when you
easier?
write your comics, you write them in a linear, single
This is books for kids, people. Children's books, all right? But yeah, I thought this one was good, and while it wasn't linear, and I just have to learn to be patient sometimes, and so I was like, okay, Matt, you're just gonna have to be patient and read this, and by the third issue, everything was like, oh, okay, now it's falling in place, and now I'm getting everything, and it was very good. So I like this because not only did it introduce the character to new readers, because it's a new number one, right? This is new readers reading Marvel Knights for the first time, hopefully, because Marvel needs new readers, right? Really bad. So they pick this up. They get badass Black Panther. You get history of the Black Panther. You learn about his dad, the Kingdom Before, why his dad fell, who Claw is, all this shit. Like you get, who Mephisto is, who's like another Marvel character. So
which is cool because from my previous knowledge, like Mephisto is also not normally a Black Panther. Like he's a demon, so he can be a villain to any person. I get that, but like that's not the first villain I think
Spider-Man or something.
When I see Spider-Man and then Doctor Strange are the only ones I like. I would think Mephisto.
Yeah, Spider-Man had a horrible or a storyline that people hated. I don't know if they still hate it, but they hated it. It was called One More Day, where where Spider-Man sold a Mephisto for one more day with Aunt May or whatever.
Oh, okay.
I think it was Aunt May.
Was it Aunt May or Mary Jane?
I think it was Aunt May. I think Aunt May died and he like wanted to. Maybe it was Mary Jane. I don't fucking know. I can't remember. Whatever. It might have been Mary Jane or whoever. No, Mary Jane doesn't die. It might have. I don't fucking know. I can't remember. But basically,
he's doing that because he's hating on Spider-Man again.
Yeah, I don't like Spider-Man. So fuck that storyline. But I think everybody else hated that storyline too. But yeah, so that's the only thing I know Mephisto from, because that came out when I was at the comic book store and I remember everybody hating it.
But it was cool to see this, a character I would not have again put in as a villain for Black Panther. It was a cool dynamic.
It was a good villain too.
And I like how he tricked him.
Make him, he can fuck with his head because he can put him in dimensions or other he can make him do those weird fantasies or what is it, like flashbacks or whatever that he was doing. So it was good. So next week I think we're gonna do Deathlock with Dwayne McDuffie.
Heck yeah.
Writing it, and Dennis Cowan doing some of the art, and another dude was it Geis. I think his last name was Geis. Can't remember his first name right now, but Geis doing art on it as well. So they split the issues. So Dennis Cowan being one of the other creators of Milestone, he also did the art for the Question run in the 80s. So
awesome.
Fucking awesome artist. And yeah, good stuff. I've never read that. You've never read that.
No, I'm looking forward to it. I've only thing I know about Deathlock is what he physically looks like.
Just that one cover that we
exactly. I can put the picture to his face and be like, oh yeah, he's like a weird zombie cyborg looking dude. Okay.
Yeah. So that's what we're reading next week. If you guys want to follow it or read it with us, and then or just have us spoil the fuck out of it for you. And on that note, if you guys have any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can email us at planestrains and comic books, all one word, at gmail.com.
And don't forget about our Twitter our Instagram, and our YouTube channel for exclusive content. We got some cool stuff coming up. Matt started a new series on there, so make sure to check that out. We got some unboxings coming up. And don't forget to check out our previous Black History Month comics. We're going to push them all out again so you guys can reach out to them. They're all great issues. They're all definitely things you should look into and pick up.
Yeah, I think they're like the issues in the 20s or something. So,
but we'll rethrow them up so you guys can see them too.
Yeah. All right, then we'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.
Well, folks, hope you enjoyed that episode.
If you did and you'd like to follow us on social media, our Facebook is Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, and our Instagram is @Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, all one word.
And be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more recommendations to add to your weekly pull list.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.